Kat and I watched Summer Games Fest. We don't have any questions, so I'm just gonna jump straight into the SGF or SUGFA, as some call it. Kat and I watched it because there was going to be Street Fighter news, and I wanted to see it because I like the Street Fighters. So we just had like we just kind of like watched it on the side. We were just kind of casually watching it and like riffing on it. And a couple things. So number one, I think it's really funny that, all right, so Jeff starts talking, and this is awesome because every single person I think had the same reaction to this because we had it. I watched Coney's reaction stream to it, or like the highlights video on his YouTube channel. He did this. I saw people on Twitter talking about having this reaction. Jeff goes, "Hey, up next, a brand new entry in the Batman Arkham series." And we both went, "Oh shit, what? What?" And then he finishes the sentence and he goes, "Exclusively on Quest VR." And we were like, okay. And then we just didn't pay attention. I made a tweet a little while ago because I wanted to get it on the record before it happened. Because I want to look cool. I want to have a well-aged take. Because I feel very confident about this. The tweet basically went something like, I don't think that dedicated gaming VR headsets are ever gonna take off outside of the very small enthusiast market. And it's just going to be like a little side thing for those people. Maybe until the bubble kind of pops and all of the companies funding this realize that it really isn't worth the investment. And they're just going to like discontinue it. And then VR is going to be like 3D glasses. That's very doomer. That's very what is the word? That's very negative of me. There's a better word for that. Whatever. You know what I mean. But I've never been that excited about VR. To me, a lot of it, VR has always felt kind of gimmicky. Like, it doesn't, there's very few things that I've ever seen that look like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense in VR. It's always seemed like something that people were more excited for because of the technology rather than the actual games. So it's like this theoretical, potential cool thing that's just never really like manifested, not fully, not in any kind of fleshed out way. I think that if VR gaming ever takes off in any form, it would be in something like the Apple Vision Pros, where it's some kind of like mixed reality digital thing nightmare, and it would just be like mobile games. It would just be like the VR equivalent to mobile gaming, where I don't know, you got like a game running on the side, running on your wall or something like that. Because VR is for a game designer, it is such a limiting. It's so funny because like it's sold on this idea like it's there's so much potential and it's like a completely new thing, so much new stuff, and then you kind of like get into it and it's like actually this is like really limiting because like for one on like a user end there's obviously the weight problem which they've never solved. As far as I can tell, they've like never really solved getting something that feels as light as like a controller in your hands. The fact that you have to set aside an entire room of your house and set it up with sensors, and that you're basically like completely locked in. Like it's not a really casual thing. It feels like I just sit down on my couch and I watch a movie, or I turn my console on and I play a game, and then I turn it off, or I can go make dinner. Let me go play a game while I'm waiting. I gotta wait 40 minutes for this thing to cook or something like that. or it's in the oven. You can't like do that with VR. If you have kids, forget it, because they're you got to be on like you got to be on call at like a moment's notice. It's a big investment. You got to set aside a lot for it compared to kind of any other home entertainment thing. And then from a game design perspective, it's like I'm trying to think of VR. Now, mind you, I'm not a VR aficionado. I haven't. What the hell? Dude, I've been sneezing like all day. It's bad. I guess it's just like the air, like pollen or something. It's usually not this bad. I can't. I'm not an expert. I don't know every single VR game that's ever come out. I've only ever seen it casually. But I'm trying to think of VR games that are not in first person. And I'm kind of drawing a blank. Almost like pretty much every VR game is sort of like limited to one perspective. And that is kind of a big deal because it's like, first person is cool, but like, could you make like a Baldur's Gate 3 run on VR in any way that is meaningful, right? That isn't just like, yeah, you're just looking at a screen, but like really close up. Not really. Are you gonna make like a puzzle game? You gonna play Tetris in VR? Like, I guess you could. It's kind of like forced. It forces developers because it's such an extreme specific thing. Like, you're putting a screen on your face. Like, any game that uses it has to be from like a really specific first person perspective. And also, from what I can tell, maybe there's some games that find ways around this, but you can't really like move around in first person. Because I guess when the you have something that's that close up to the point where it's filling like your entire vision, and you're like moving around. If you see something moving, if you're moving in first person, but your body is not actually moving, I think it just makes your brain freak out, and you get. I'm sure there's probably a lot of people who get big nausea from that. I think I would. So you have to be like sitting down or standing or something like that, and like in place. And most VR games that I've seen just kind of involve you teleporting around, which is, I don't know, dude. There's the promise and then there's the reality, and I'm just not seeing it materialize. Yeah, I'm not a VR guy. And I think that I feel like people that's kind of becoming a more common thing. I've always sort of felt like that, but now I feel like it's becoming a more common thing. Jeff Keighley goes, "New Batman Arkham game, exclusively on VR." Also, the fact that like they're all exclusive titles. All of them are exclusive titles for the very specific platforms that they're on. Like there's the Meta, that's the Quest. Oculus became the Quest, and then there's like the Vive, and then there's the Valve Index. And like none of them have any kind of cross-platform at all. So maybe there's a couple, but so many of them are. It's like it's such a worse version of like it. This already existed with consoles where it's like, oh no, I gotta. There's this game that's Xbox exclusive, and there's this game that's PlayStation exclusive. Which one do I get? But at least like if you bought that, well, not counting modern Xbox, at least if you bought one of those consoles, you'd have like a lot of different games to check out. Like you could make it work. You buy a VR thing and it's like, well, we have 5 other games and they're all basically tech demos for the same hardware. Yeah, that's the word. They all feel like tech demos to me. I've just never been sold on it.